unlikely heroes of the Bible, the people that are just mentioned and we read through and we're like, yeah, let's get to the real story. And there's a real story behind the story. And that's what we're talking about this week. And so, Allison, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Today, we're talking about who?
We're talking about Anna.
Anna. I know all sorts of Annas. My niece is an Anna.
Yeah.
Anna who?
Okay, so Anna is a prophetess that we meet when Jesus' family comes to the temple to offer sacrifice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's really written in there?
She is really written in there.
Okay. You'll have to read the word.
I know.
So
everyone's like, I don't believe her.
You.
Yeah. So we're reading in Luke again, and it says, there was also a prophet, Anna, the daughter of Penuel of the tribe of Asher. She was very old, and she had lived with her husband 7 years after her marriage, and then was a widow until she was 84. She never left the temple, but worshipped night and day, fasting and praying. Coming up to them at that very moment, them being the Holy Family, she gave thanks to God and spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem.
Okay, the Holy Family being Mary, Joseph, and Jesus.
Yes.
And so we have Anna. Here she is, mentioned at the very beginning, and validating another person, validating this birth, and that he would be the person for all generations.
Yeah, totally.
So why Anna? Why today for this unlikely hero?
So I love Anna. I've done a lot of my schoolwork in kind of the silence of God. And those moments of having to persevere in prayer and persevere in faith. And so Anna's a really great example of that. Because if we look at where Israel is at this point, it's been like 400 years since they have had agency over their own society. They've been from exile, and then they've been just under the rule of other people. And so you have to imagine. So Anna's been in the temple for probably about 60-something years. And she has, 60 years out of those 400, she has kept up the tradition of praying for Jerusalem and for her people. Like, that is perseverance.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's a continued hope when she has 340 years of nothing to lean on. Like, that is power.
So she perseveres. I mean, she's a woman. Let's talk a little bit about the scenario of a widow.
Oh, gosh,
at that particular period of time. So what's her situation?
So widows weren't in a great situation unless you had sons, because women they couldn't speak for themselves at the gates, which is kind of where decisions were made. They couldn't speak up in court. They couldn't own property. So that's why in the Old Testament, it is used a lot that God calls for his people to care for the fatherless, the widow, the poor, and the foreigner. Because widows needed the community to care for them because they didn't have agency or access to support.
So she's an outsider.
She's an outsider. She probably didn't have a lot of options.
From what we gather from what we get out of scripture and out of historical context, most likely she didn't have additional family around.
No, and she's also from one of the lost tribes, the tribe of Asher. It's amazing they even mention it, that she probably couldn't fall back on a larger group of people and say hey, take care of me.
What do you mean by that, the lost tribes?
So when we get into the New Testament, they don't talk about all of the tribes.
So the 12 tribes of Israel.
Yes.
And then
don't ask me to name them.
Yeah, we're not going to take all that time. But you have these northern tribes that essentially once they got taken to Babylon, a lot of them we don't get a lot of mentions of anymore. And Luke particularly mentions this particular tribe. And so, like you're saying, we don't know that she's got other people from her tribe around or family. So she's there in the service of the temple. I mean, this idea of perseverance, how do you pull so much from her story and perseverance simply because she was in the temple praying?
Because the cry was for how long? This had been the Jewish cry off and on for a long time. How long, God, are we going to wait? They cried it when they were in Egypt as slaves. And now they're still under foreign rule. And so you have to imagine, what are they praying for at the temple? They thought they were supposed to be God's people and a chosen nation, and they're not able to be a nation. So I can only imagine that her cry, her prayer, what she was longing for, hoping for, and looking for, was for that Savior, that Messiah that had been promised in Isaiah, who was going to give them back. They thought their political agency. They didn't realize that it was going to be for everyone.
Mm-hmm. And there's something beautiful about the fact that she just stayed in the temple.
Yeah.
What does it show about her relationship with the Lord and really what she was trying to get out of it?
I mean, it shows it had to have been enough in some sense that she didn't remarry. She stayed there, they say, night and day, all the time. She wasn't building community with the other widows, which with like the red tent experience, you would have had the widows helping to care for the children. Like there were things she could have done in the community, but she chose the community of God.
Mm-hmm. This relationship's beautiful. It's really her true reward.
Yeah.
It should be indicative of us to really reflect on our own life. Is our relationship with the Lord enough?
Yeah. If it was all stripped away.
If it was all stripped away, is he just enough for us?
And look at the reward she gets for it. She gets to see the fulfillment of what she'd been praying for 60 years.
Right.
I mean, I have a hard time praying for something for like 6 months and not getting a response. But she put her whole life into this prayer, and God actually allowed her to see its fulfillment.
So in the midst of this, Allison, the silence that individuals are going through,
yeah,
whether it is an individual who's a widower or widow and wondering, what about maybe another relationship, or where's the silence in my life, or the person that is single and maybe longing or maybe not for a spouse, or the diagnosis that they're longing for an answer from God. How do we remain in a place where we're going to persevere despite the silence?
I think there's multiple avenues within that. I think first is recognizing that our relationship with God is the prize. It is the end goal. It is what we were created for. All these other things, being a mother, having the job we want, having the relationship we want, those are all trappings of our life. But the real true end goal, the reason we were created, is that relationship with God. And I know that can sound trite, and it's not. Mm-hmm. We see that in Anna's life. It's not trite. It was something deep and rich. I think also understanding, one of my favorite books ever is this book, Silence, about priests in Japan in like the 1400s. But there's this part where he says something about how, God, I resented your silence. And God responds to the priest and says, I wasn't silent, I was there with you. That even if we aren't hearing from God or we're not clear on what his response is, his presence is always here. His steadfast love endures forever. Like we see it throughout the Psalms. There are laments in there for a reason, because we are allowed to be confused. We are allowed to be frustrated. But they almost always resolve with trusting God's faithfulness, which at the end of the day is really all we can do, is understand that God is for us. And like Mary, trust in the chaos that he is still moving with purpose.
Yeah. We want God to be a God of action.
Yes.
Like an action figure in our life in a way.
Yeah.
Right? To do the things that we appeal to him, and many of them God-honoring things.
Yeah.
But he put us in the garden for a relationship.
Yeah.
The whole idea of silence and his presence being enough is amazing. So lastly, any particular things for the encouragement of those individuals, maybe particularly going through silence right now? They're praying diligently for their lost son or daughter.
Yeah.
And it just seems like, where is God on the other side of this? I get that I need a relationship with him, but I really want to see something take place.
Man. That's a hard question, because there isn't always a clear answer. I think, though, I really do think there is so much power in brutal honesty with God. Praise doesn't always have to be praise. It can also sometimes be sadness or anger. I think there is, when we are honest with God and seek him truly, he will calm our souls. I think he gives us peace that surpasses understanding, that it may not mean that he gives us resolution, but he gives us himself, and that is enough.
Yeah.
Even in the face of loss.
Yeah. praise and worship is really where we're going to put our heart troubles and our affections.
Eventually, yeah.
And so if we can put our heart troubles, our passions, our desires at the feet of Jesus, that's really what he's requesting of us.
Yeah.
So I just want to encourage everybody out there. You might be going through a season of silence, but God's presence is there with you. And his relationship is really what he desires from us. And once we get to heaven, it's really what it's going to be about, is a relationship anyway with him. So let's dive into it now. Let's not wait to heaven. We can have that relationship starting today, starting right now.